Well, hello there, my fellow Doombots, and in this video, I will be agreeing with MoistCr1TiKaL. I wanted to make a video about the movie Until Spawn, a movie which I hated. I think it is one of the worst movies that came out this year, but I felt so icky after watching this film that I decided I do not have the power in me to do a solo movie review for this film. So instead, I saw that MoistCr1TiKaL Penguins Charlie himself has made a video that's called Until Dawn Movie Isn't Good, and I think I'm going to be agreeing with a whole lot of points here, and I just felt like this is a much nicer way for me to do it by watching one of my favorite YouTubers, Mr. MoistCr1TiKaL himself. And yes, let's just watch the video and see what he has to say, and I think that I will be agreeing with him on a lot of points, but we shall see, my fellow Doombots. If you have not yet, like, comment, and subscribe.
I don't think anyone out there is surprised to hear that the Until Dawn movie
Sucks.
is not good.
Yep,
But
you said it,
I
Charlie.
do think you'll be surprised to hear that I'm getting a little haircut soon.
What?
Nothing like drastic or anything, just trimming some of the dead ends, which I haven't done in a long time.
Okay.
But anyway, about
Congrats.
the Until Dawn movie,
Congrats.
from the very first trailer, it was clear this is going to have pretty much nothing in common with the game that it's based on.
I didn't see any
I've been
trailers, so I
screaming
don't
it and
know.
creaming it till I've been blue in the dick, but if you're going to be making a live-action adaptation of a video game, you've got to at least try and make it somewhat respectful to the source material. There's endless examples to pull from of movies and shows that completely miss the mark because they just decide that they know what's best for the property and have no idea what the game that it's based on is even
Master
about,
Chief
like
series.
the Halo TV series. I'm not here to just regurgitate
Yeah,
that.
hey, I said
only
it.
mention that because Until Dawn falls victim to the same thing here.
Until Dawn's
However,
worse.
I
Way
will
worse.
say, to this movie's credit, the concept they come up with, while not really present in the game, is still a fun idea.
Yeah,
where
but
these characters,
it has nothing
they
to
go
do
into
with the
this
game.
spooky house and they've got to survive until dawn. And they just keep getting killed over and over and over again. And they try and
They have like 13 lives, but this has nothing really to do with the game. But the concept is interesting, but I don't think it's so good, because if you have like 13 devs, they don't do anything interesting with the concept. Like the amount of interesting monsters they could use for this, they did not do. But let's
piece
hear what Charlie
together the
says.
mystery while trying to survive the night so they can finally break the loop.
There's
It's
no
more
mystery,
of like a
so
Groundhog
dumb.
Day or
Yeah.
like a Happy Death Day kind of thing, similar.
But
Not
worse.
really like the Until Dawn game, where if you've played it,
You die, you
know
die.
you don't just endlessly retry,
Nope.
dying over and over again. In fact, it's all about your choices, trying to keep characters alive, and if you fuck up, if you shit the bed, you could permanently lose the character.
Because your actions do have consequences in the game, not in this movie, because people just kill each other willy-nilly. Spoiler alert, it's super dumb.
That is not really present here. The only thing they borrowed from the game is the idea of the butterfly effect. But how about for people that haven't played the game? Will they like this?
Nope.
I think they'll like half of it. And admittedly, I liked half of it too. It's
What?
the first half of the film where it does try and do its
Yeah?
own thing. They actually have Peter Stormare, I think that's how you say his name, in this movie.
I love Peter Stormare. He's like an OG. He also played in Nacho Libre. He's the eagle man who gives Nacho Libre the eagle powers from the egg. And also he is in The Big Lebowski. He's one of the guys who threatens to cut Mr. Lebowski's wiener off. So that guy, he was my favorite part of the film. Continue, Mr. Moist.
in a role.
Mr. Moist.
He was in the game too. I thought
Yeah.
that was cool.
Also in the game.
He's not really utilized that much. I'm gonna have to get into spoilers. Spoiler warning. All right, now that that's out of the way.
Spoilers,
The first half of this
baby!
movie is actually enjoyable. Like
Yeah?
it is a fun film. So they spend the first half, and like there's recognizable things about it from the game. But if you haven't played the game, I think you'll probably just.
I don't know what he's talking about. It was enjoyable. I thought it was like boring first half. What is he talking about?
Think that it's cool. They go here, and now they're stuck in this loop where they're getting chased by all kinds of different bad things. Sometimes it's a slasher movie where they're being hunted by this. Basically fucking Bane.
Yeah,
And he's,
Bane, yeah.
like slaughtering them.
The
left
big guy
and
with the
right,
hammer.
And then they reset, and then this time it's not that guy wandering around. Like
It's like a
fucking
ghost
Jason
lady.
Voorhees. Then it's more of a supernatural thing where they're getting
Yeah.
like flown around and possessed and shit like that.
That was
and
fine.
then there's another one where it's more of like almost like SCPs that they're being hunted by.
SCP?
Like, it's cool that it kept switching up what was hunting and killing them.
I think that the worst one of these is when they drink the water and they just explode. I thought that was like super stupid. But let's see if
Deaths were
about it.
satisfying, sometimes even just shocking,
Yeah.
but like in a silly way. So, like one of the times they just start randomly combusting, just spontaneous combustion.
I did not
and
like
I mean
that.
in the truest textbook definition. They just start spontaneously combusting.
I thought it was horrible.
Like fucking meat balloons that are popping out of nowhere. Which
don't
I
know.
thought, like, the theater actually laughed at that.
Yeah, of course,
And I'm
it's stupid.
sure they knew when they were making that scene that it would be silly and fun. And that's when the movie was at its best, when it kept doing these, like, wacky character deaths, being creative with the character deaths, and they were still
Okay.
getting, like, little tidbits of lore about what they're stuck in and what they need to do to get out of it, about needing
At a
this.
certain point, I think it goes a little bit too far. I didn't like the part where they just exploded because I was thinking like, what is even the point? What are we doing?
Survive until dawn, otherwise they're trapped forever in, like, a permanent loop. They become part of the night.
They become a Wendigo.
That's when the movie was at its best, and it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yes, there were cheap jump scares. Obviously, there's going to be cheap jump scares. But the characters are absolutely horrible from start to finish. The characters are
The
so
main character sucks the most, man. She is so egocentrical.
one-dimensional. Like, they only have, like, one character trait, and that's it. And that's
Yep.
all they ever do.
my girlfriend.
And now, let's get to the second half, where this movie completely falls apart, and I think even if you haven't played the game, you're going to hate the second half.
It's garbage.
This movie gets to a point where I think they just got really tired of making it, or maybe they started running out of budget. So they
Okay.
do like 3 nights, and it's fun. Like it's a fun little horror flick for those 3 nights. They're showing you all these deaths and the things that they're starting to learn.
Yep.
And then after the 3rd night, it skips to the 13th night, the last night. So it
Oh,
literally
that was
just
so dumb. Then out of nowhere, they just show a montage on somebody's phone. That was like garbage. You see like a bunch of cool monsters, and it's just on somebody's phone. Shitty as hell.
goes like, here's a death, and then they wake up and one of the characters says, how many nights has it been? How long have I been out? You've been out for 5 nights. And then one of the other characters, Nina's like, no, it's actually been 13.
Like, what?
Check the book.
Out of
they
nowhere,
check,
we're at the
confirm
ending of the
13
movie.
nights. No one ever survives past 13, so if they die here, that's the end. That's game over.
Yep.
So it literally just skips through
Yeah.
all of like the interesting shit it was doing to get to the very
100%.
end, so that way it goes to a glacial halt. Like, now all of a sudden nothing is happening because it's their last night.
Yep.
And it is a slog. Holy fuck, it's horrible. And they
Like
had
it
the
went from all of these interesting. I thought that the first I didn't like the water death, but the other deaths were interesting. But then you see a bunch of interesting stuff happen on somebody's phone, and you're like, why didn't I just watch this? Why didn't I just see all of these cool deaths and all of these cool monsters? You just see it on the shitty phone with glitching effects on it. It was hot garbage. That made me so angry that I think right now it's the worst movie of 2025. But it's just my opinion. I don't think Charlie agrees with it, but in my opinion, this is the movie that infuriated me the most.
the chutzpah to have one of the characters be like, oh wait, didn't I record something earlier? Because
Oh,
one of the
that's so
characters
bad.
had like recorded when they first got there.
I
He
hated
checks his
that
phone.
scene.
It turns out he recorded all the other nights. So then you get all the shit you saw in the trailer with like that bug in Clover's face, and then like that giant like
Yeah.
spirited away guy who's going like this at the camera. Well, all of that was recorded on his phone. And we get like a little montage of it
So
for like
bad.
45 seconds.
Horrible.
You don't actually see any of that
Nope.
throughout the film. So instead, it fast forwards through all of that. The only thing that was interesting about it, to get to the second
you,
half,
Until Dawn.
where it tries desperately to throw this Hail Mary of somehow loosely tying it into the Until Dawn lore, like the game lore, and it doesn't.
That was so bad. There's like a moment where you see like you go to the files of the psychiatrist bad guy played by the actor he just named before, who's also in The Big Lebowski and Nacho Libre. That guy who I like. And you just see a picture of Rami Malek's character from the Until Dawn series, and it's like a really bad JPEG from the game, just printed on a piece of paper. It wasn't even a picture of the real actor's face. That was like, damn, this movie is cheap as hell.
Really, really bad. If you haven't played the game, maybe you won't be insulted by this. But having played the game, man, why did you even try with what they did here?
It's so
Also, on their final night, pretty much everything they had learned meant nothing.
Nothing.
Like, this was never a gradual buildup of how they solved it and how they outsmarted and then survived. What ends up happening on the last night is they look at those videos, and then the final video there has one of the characters being like, I'm going to follow him, because Peter Stormare came through and she was filming him, and I guess he
Yeah.
didn't see her, even though she was kind of just like out in the open filming.
She's just freaking... She's like crouching down him. She's like walking like this, like she's the freaking Hamburglar from McDonald's. That's how she's walking behind him. And this dude doesn't see her. Of course, she gets caught immediately, but it was so dumb.
It, literally like vlogging it. And
Yeah.
so she sets the phone down and then follows him. And that was like the last video. And they're like, all right, let's go follow her. But they just like randomly start stumbling across the right way to go.
But like at the moment, I really thought it was like a movie made by college students because the set design just looked horrible. And I don't know if he's gonna talk about like the Wendigo, but those Wendigos that they turn into, they just look like zombies from Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies. It was just not a Wendigo. A Wendigo looks way different. It was like really shitty, the ending.
Not because they learned anything or adapted or evolved or got better at handling the horrors. They just got really lucky and conveniently just ass over tomato cans fell into the right path. Like even finding her who followed that guy, she didn't get very far, but they happened to stumble across her. So like there was never any emotion.
She's like locked up in a room, and there's like the side plot where like if a Wendigo scares you, you turn to a Wendigo. So she's just like strapped to her chair like this, and then a Wendigo is in front of her face like, and then she's like, no, save me from the Wendigo because the Wendigo is gonna turn me into a Wendigo. But it's like clearly just a zombie, you know. So, fucking mother. Yeah, I hated this movie. I hate this movie so much. I thought that you would be more angry, just like me. Damn it, Charlie. Shit. I'm still gonna make the title I agree with you or not. I don't know.
Moments at all in this film. Everything was so fucking flat. But the thing it was doing well with like the creative deaths and like being over the top and silly with the deaths
Was fine.
They completely abandoned for the entire second half. So
Yeah.
then it's just really boring. And then all of its problems really start to show because now all of a sudden it's trying new things that don't work because it's not building tension. You now know these characters, they might die for real, but they're not even really
not gonna
playing with
die,
that. It's
bro.
very clear they're not going to.
Nope.
And the final confrontation with Dr. Hill, that's Peter, is so comical. So, you remember how I mentioned spontaneous combustion?
With the water?
What causes that? The catalyst is drinking the water there. So in the final showdown with the big bad, the big villain, Peter, he shows up with a cup of coffee. First of all,
How'd you get the coffee?
he's drinking the coffee with no problem. It's already been established the water makes you blow up.
How did he get
Why
the coffee?
isn't he blowing up?
How did he get the
I
coffee?
kind of mental gymnastics this explanation in my head, so
don't
take it
know.
with a grain of salt, but I just cooked up the theory that maybe boiling the water cooks out the explosive elements of it, or he completely leaves the town, like goes across state lines to get clean water and then brews his coffee there and brings it back.
What?
Anyway, Clover is
It's like a
talking with him
thermostat.
and he's monologuing the most cliche shit ever. He's monologuing and he's being all over the top and exaggerated with it. So he's turning his back to her and he's like monologuing at a wall. Trauma. It's a very powerful fear. Very powerful. And our main character Clover, notices a leaky pipe dripping water, so she moves his coffee cup over it, gets some of the water in it, moves it back, and then he's done monologuing, takes a sip and blows up.
It's so
And
bad.
then they all escape and they live happily ever after. Kind of. During this conversation, there are things that they feed you narratively
that's
that
so stupid.
kind of sets this movie up as a fucking prequel to the Until Dawn game.
No.
Loosely.
What?
It's rough. It is
Wait for a second. Just that scene with the coffee made 0 sense. Like that made 0 sense. Like, and then he explodes. He's like, oh my god, you put the water in my coffee, even though I'm already drinking coffee and there's water in my coffee. Now I'm gonna explode. And he just tries to grab the main character, and then he explodes. And then she gets the keys and she frees her friend from becoming a Wendigo. No, not a Wendigo, a Call of Duty zombie. Why are you not talking about the Wendigos? Because Wendigos look way different than zombies from Call of Duty. It was shit. Shit. It was... That's what I would... Wendigos are like really tall, long, lanky, scary creatures. They're not zombies from Call of Duty Black Ops 2.
so rough. I don't understand why they thought that would hit. I don't know what they thought they were cooking. It's just not very good.
Nope.
Like the first half, I was having fun with. If
I
they had
was
just
not.
done that for the whole film's runtime, I think this would have been like an enjoyable movie. I think
Maybe.
it would have been a fine
Better
flick.
than this.
Nothing special, but it would have been fun if it's just these characters getting gradually better at
Killed.
surviving all of the different horror that's thrown at them until they can finally fucking survive the whole night. That would have been cool. I would have rather seen.
Because that's more fun to watch than out of nowhere just four teenagers be like, hey, you crazy monster killer who just beat the fuck out of us and one-shotted us, everybody in the beginning, the guy with the mask, the Jason Voorhees mask. We're learning how to beat you out of nowhere, just like, yeah, we're like the Power Rangers, and the four of us gonna beat the fuck out of you. That's like what happens. They just smash his head in, and then they all like high five. Nah.
That as opposed to what they did here, where they did a few nights and then fast forwarded to the very end and tried to like fill in the blanks a little bit. It was just dumb. Like the whole second half it's so boring.
Yep.
It's so excruciatingly boring. And like I mentioned, there's nothing emotional about it. Like you don't
Nope.
care about any of these characters here. It's impossible to get invested in them because they don't do anything. They don't have any development. They're hardly fleshed out at
Yep.
all. They don't get anything to do except making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision and then eventually just getting lucky. So it's just there's nothing to like about the second half.
Agreed.
It was a huge fucking blunder, a big fumble because, as I mentioned, the concept itself is fine.
But the concept itself does not have anything to do with the video game, so why even call it Until Dawn? I don't know. This is basically, for me, a worse version of Cabin in the Woods. Like, Cabin of the Woods gives you everything you're talking about right now, MoistCr1TiKaL, but does it better.
I don't understand why you'd even bother calling this an adaptation of Until Dawn in the first place, since
Yeah.
you didn't do that.
Nope.
Really, the whole thing was just kind of a mess after the first half. That was a very weird set of decisions there for the film. So, not very good, but not as shitty as it could have been, I suppose.
I
There's
don't know. I
definitely
think it was
worse
really
video
shitty.
game adaptations out there, but this is definitely in like the bottom of the barrel, lower echelon of those, because we also get some very good video game adaptations from time to time now. This is not one of those, though. Anyway, that's really about it. So, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I kind of agree with Mr. Moist. Not all the way. I thought he could have been harsher. I thought that was horrible what they did to the Wendigos, because the Wendigos in the original Until Dawn game, they look like freaking really large, scary creatures, and here they just look like Call of Duty Black Ops zombies. I thought this was a really shitty movie. I thought this was the worst movie of 2025. It really rubbed me the wrong way, but still, thank you, Mr. MoistCr1TiKaL, for making this review of Until Dawn for me a little bit more bearable, because I really could not stand doing it alone. My fellow Doombots, have yourself... Oh, and people who like MoistCr1TiKaL, have yourself a happy doomsday. Doombot out. Have yourself a happy doomsday. I just said it twice. That's my catchphrase. I'm a guy in a Dr. Doom mask, and I say doom stuff. That's what I do. Yeah.